What do we go after in life?
I think to me the key was finding my place, in what God has for me, the purpose. And once I found that, and in an environment like this, what else can you ask for? It's almost like a given.
What defines us? What shapes our destinies?
In 1987, when I took a trip to visit the poor in the slums in Tondo, Metro Manila, one of the visits that I took was to Smoky Mountain. I remember that night I didn't have much appetite to eat. I just spent the time reflecting. Could never imagine there was that kind of poverty. I just felt that I wanted to think through some of the issues and see what can be done.
If every moment was another chance, would we let it slip or turn it around? What would we do if we knew we could not fail?
I was born in 1962 in KL, Malaysia. Parents are poor. There were 6 of us in the family. I was the 5th in the family. We just grew up in a kind of depressed area in KL at that time. I remember the area of mine is very near Chowkit, very notorious, infested with gangs. So that was the area I grew up in. A lot of my friends were either dabbling with drugs, gangsters. For some reason, I'm very thankful I never got into that. And right through my school years, I studied.
Poor Boy Made Good may well be an apt description of Yeo Seng Eng's life story, except that his journey in life hardly ends there. He once had a promising career working in HR and training with a multinational company. But he never forgot his impoverished past, which paled when he made his first trip to Manila in 1987 and saw the mountain of rubbish amongst which thousands lived.
Wow, look at this place, man. I saw Smoky Mountain. I walked up and I remembered with the team. I remember it's a couple of stories high of rubbish, houses next to each other. Some sections were very narrow. All in all, it was pretty smelly, a lot of house flies. And the thought that came to me was, how can people survive like that? There has to be something better. It can be something better. And it triggered me to kind of think that we could do something.
Manila changed his life, and fueled by his convictions, Seng Eng resolved to return to the Philippines to help the slum dwellers of Manila. 10 years later, he made good on his word. He resigned from his job to the shock of his boss and returned to Manila with his wife Chuen, a medical doctor, and their 2 young children in tow. But this time, they went back to stay.
I spent about 1.5 years just learning the language. Sit down there with a teacher 3 times a week. On top of that, also have to settle our 2 young children at that time, 6 or 7 years old. It was a lot of adjustment in that sense. Language, children, at the same time going to the slums, working among them, understanding some of the situation, having medical trips inside the slums from time to time, do medical and dental work there. And all of these were interesting lessons. Part of it was also helping the poor and cheated in the process quite a few times. Disappointed, how to deal with my own feelings, and how to look at it.
Instead of giving in to despair, Seng Eng, in consultation with church and community leaders, set up an education sponsorship program. A health program spearheaded by his wife Chuen provided free medical and dental services, and a pressed flower livelihood program helped the women in the slums earn money by creating greeting cards, calendars, and other corporate gifts without having to leave their homes.
This is your design. This is nice.
Although by this time the Smoky Mountain rubbish tip had been closed, Seng Eng found the focus of his work among the poor at a larger refuse site called Payatas in Quezon City. The success of the programs led him to register Care Channels International as a non-governmental organization set up to help the poor.
This is Alan. Alan is a person who is in charge of all our framings and putting it together. Like the particular product here that you see, they come from the different areas that we have mothers working on or families working on. Then when they come here, we laminate it, and then this is where we do the framing. The mission of Care Channels is really targeted at the poor and how to help them and how to work with them in a way which we felt very important, a holistic way. It's all around. It's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's psychological also. Care Channels provide scholarships for poor students, and roughly we have about 650 students for primary school, for secondary school. Another 13 students for college. So these scholarships are given to them so that they will enable the poor students to have a chance at some form of education that is available. We treat close to 12,000 medical patients a year, and then we have 4 clinics that treat another additional 2,000 patients a year. The livelihood programs that we are currently serving about 290 plus families, nearly 300 families are working at their homes with their hands, pressing the flowers onto the cards or calendars or products that we are able to sell, and then some other paper products itself. She is one of our college scholar, and she's doing, what year are you now?
I'm second year college.
Second year college now.
Yes.
Which college are you studying in?
University of Rizal System, located at Montalban.
Montalban itself. What subject are you doing?
Bachelor of Science in Education.
So you want to be a teacher next time, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
But until she does, she takes time from her studies to lend a hand in the family trade.
Now let's go.
We pick up some garbage came from the restaurant, and then we recycled it. Those things that we can sell to the junk shops. The income is not big enough for us, so it is enough to supply our needs for every day only.
With Care Channels functioning under the care of its full-time staff, Seng and his family returned to Singapore after 7 years in Manila. Today, he spends 40% of his time as a human resource consultant and devotes the rest to managing Care Channels out of a small office in his church in Singapore.
Before I came back, we felt that we have a very interesting programs and approach to reach out to the poor, to help the poor. We decided that can we then take these programs and move it to China, move it to Pakistan, move it to different countries in Asia where the poor is.
But reaching out to the poor would not have been possible without the support and enthusiasm of his wife Chuan. She shares Seng Eng's sense of mission and has herself gained insights into the nature of poverty.
I used to think poverty is self-imposed and you're lazy to work. You get drunk or you go into drug addiction, that's how you become poor. But there are many who are poor who cannot help it. They are born into poverty, there's no opportunity for education or work. That's how they are in a state of poverty. A person who needs help, being able to turn around and help other people, it gives a sense of dignity to the person. Before that, they were asking help to buy medicine, and then as they were working on their livelihood, they can now help their neighbors who were asking for help. I said, wow, that would be that's a very nice thing to see.
For most men, midlife is a time of interesting propositions and options. Some live out their dreams, some re-evaluate their life goals, yet others heed what they feel is a higher calling.
From the beginning of my practice, I always knew that I will not end my whole life as a career, as a lawyer. I knew some point in time, I will leave the profession and do something. But of course, I didn't know what it was. Even during the period of practicing, it was still very much a journey, searching what really the Lord wanted me to do.
It soon became clear what it was, and in 2004, Kan Yuan left the law practice that bore his name and became part of Genesis 1, G1 Ventures, a business consultancy based on his beliefs and a business model aimed at helping disenfranchised and underprivileged societies get back on their feet. And it is on such a mission that Kan Yuan has returned to the Pacific island of Bougainville and autonomous region of Papua New Guinea, bringing hope and ideas for fairer trade terms to benefit the 200,000 islanders who have seen much violence and exploitation in their recent past.
When you come along to Bougainville,
This is Gilpasuna Plantation, and they are basically a cocoa plantation of about 900 over hectares, previously owned by the colonials, which have fled after the conflict. So the people themselves now have taken over the plantation. They're just trying to see how they can revive this whole operation and the plantation.
Let's go there.
So we are actually trying to help them to trade their cocoa beans, to find buyers in the market for them. This is Trinitarian. We are not driven by profit. Our focus is actually on the people. We want to help them. Basically, the model is based a lot on transparency. Just heating up the heat and the air to dry the beans, and the beans are just laid up on top here. They don't know what's happening in the market. So they just go with whatever the middleman tells them. What we are trying to do is when we find the end buyer, they will actually know exactly how much we sell the beans for. And we, of course, buy the beans from them at what the exporters or the local middlemen are paying them, because we don't want to spoil the market. We don't want to go into a bidding war.
Yeah, you can see they've already put them in the bags. And this is ready for export.
But the difference is that we are prepared to share our profit with the local people here. The whole idea is to help them, get them out of poverty. That's the only way, we see to alleviate their situation here.
That's the chocolate. This is the chocolate. Cocoa butter is in there.
Rich in commodities and mineral resources, Bougainville once had the second largest copper mine in the world. About 10 times the size of Singapore, it's made up of 2 main islands situated in the North Solomons. But this idyllic setting has not been a given. In the late 1980s, what began as a civil unrest over the issue of compensation spiraled into a bloody 10-year crisis. The parties to the conflict were the Papua New Guinean Army, the Bougainville rebels, and the Australians who owned the mine facilitated the squashing of the unrest. Although the conflict stunned the world, the media all but turned its back on a war whose victims were the 200,000 mainly innocent Bougainvillians who sought peace, justice, and a fair go on the island that has belonged to them through the generations. And Kan Yuan is not oblivious to the weight of history in the place he has chosen to come to, and the hopes and aspirations of the people he has chosen to help.
I think we become very myopic if we see the poor as the financially disadvantaged or poor. I think looking back even at myself, at one point in time I was poor. I was poor in spirit. And I think if we do not find our purpose, we will always be poor in spirit. And because I felt I have found that, and this is something that I'm trying to do, to help others find their purpose too. And not necessarily just to help financially poor. If you are a lawyer, a doctor, you are somebody. And to give that up to people who don't understand, then it's a big sacrifice. But as I shared with many people, it's not a sacrifice, because if I see it from that point of view, then I think I really have missed it. The only thing which I feel is that I could have provided more for my family, if I've not done this. But then again, the only thing I seek from them is understanding. Just give me that time for me to be able to, go through this, develop it, and then they will be able to see the fruits, not necessarily financial. But I think to see this thing manifest in a way that we are able to truly help people in a more equitable way, where there's justice, where there's truth. So to me, that is really the kind of satisfaction and reward I will get.
Like the intangible rewards that are so important to Kan Yuan, friendship and relationship is something that ranks high. One such person is his companion on this trip, Garage Lim. Garage is a fellow Singaporean doing his PhD at the London School of Economics on conflict and peace in Bougainville. His wealth of knowledge on the island is a timely asset to Kan Yuen and his team at G1 Ventures. Another is Nathan Kavoho, someone who has come to know well on his trips here.
To me, Nathan has been a real blessing, you know. I mean, we call each other Kiara. The local language here, Kiara, is something people who are closer than brothers. You know, and that's how he is. That's why I have been sharing with the friends that I've made here that at the end of the day, it's always about relationship. It's about us, you know. It shouldn't be just something that we do. I say even if things doesn't work out, if this is not what you want to do, you guys are still my friend. You see, I mean, I wouldn't leave you and, you know, that's it. You know, you will never see me for the rest of your life. No.
As the sun rises over the Pacific Ocean this morning, Kan Yuen couldn't be further from the seductive glitter of the Singapore skyline he was once so familiar with. He has traded a law practice in the heart of Singapore's financial district for a tent on the beach, swapped his somber legal suit for a generous coating of repellent against vicious sandflies and mosquitoes. Where once he addressed judges as a solicitor, he now holds court with village chiefs under a mango tree.
Well, I feel myself, you know, my real natural self. Yeah, I enjoy it out here, you know, just be one with nature kind of a thing. But my wife always warned me, don't be too savage. Don't live like a jungle man, you know. I enjoy it. I feel more alive, you know, once I'm out here.
Perhaps an adventurous boyhood spent outdoors might have prepared him for this. But the cost of such a radical midlife career change must certainly transcend even the rigors of a rough and tumble week in Bougainville.
I knew that the day will come where I have to do it, not because I have a nest of eggs sitting somewhere that will be able to see me through. Because that kind of situation I felt, you know, in my journey is that then I'm actually depending on that nest of egg rather than my dependence on God. But that was one time I probably got it right, thinking through the heart. As to how we are supporting ourselves, I mean, whatever savings that we have and through the assistance of friends, we have been able to keep going thus far.
And these decisions were, of course, not arrived at easily and, understandably, with some trepidation from his wife.
But her concern wasn't so much of a financial, but of course it's only more recently that she has a bit of financial concern because she doesn't know how long this thing is going to last. And looking back, you know, so what's going to happen to us when we grow old? Of course, you know, we are not getting younger. And the fact that we don't have children, you know, that's basically her concern. So who's going to look after that? It's only you and me, you know. So if we don't have that, then what? Yeah.
Like Kan Yuen, Seng Eng too is realistic about the life-transforming choices he has made over the years.
In 1995, when I quit, I had this picture in my mind. I think it's a scenario that is very likely to happen. Probably I may turn up driving maybe a 6-year-old Toyota. At 55 years old, I would meet with my friend at the junction of a traffic light. He's driving his Mercedes. It's a new 9 months Mercedes, you know, it's a beautiful one. And we saw each other, we say hi, and we kind of press our windscreen. Mine comes out in a jerk. His comes out real smooth. And then we look at each other, we say hi, you know, how are you? Very soon the light changes, and you know, both of us will hit our oil, you know, accelerator, you know, and obviously the burst will be faster, you know. And if that picture that I see, and it's something that I look back and I say, you know, I cannot accept that picture. I'm troubled by it. It's something I feel pain. I could have been there. I know. At 32, I was doing very well. You know, at 55, it would be even better. At that point, if I had a tinge of regret, and I told myself I shouldn't resign. So I asked myself, can I accept that picture that I painted? Can I be at peace with it? Can I look at it and I'm not envious? I'm not at pain, and I do not regret it. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, I said, I can choose this path that I felt that is a calling of my life.
I downgraded my lifestyle. When my car was up, 10 years was up, I just decided, although, took me a while, had some struggles, should I get another car or should I just scrap it and take public transport? And finally the decision was just scrap it. Then it made me realize how silly it is. You spend whole, the period of time owning the car, just paying off the car, paying off the mortgage for the car. And when you finally pay off, all you get is a piece of paper and you have to scrap the car. It just doesn't make sense, Yeah, so I'm happy taking MRT and buses now. It took some adjustment, but to me, it was no big deal. As the Chinese saying goes, if your horse dies, you just get down the horse and walk.
In life, the well-trodden path is neither difficult to find nor difficult to follow. It is the one that is broad and well-lit. It is the one that is crowded, but safe. But to wander down an uncharted path with only the certainty of a higher calling to shed light on one's way is to blaze a trail of inspiration for others to follow.
Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I may not even be here, So as long as I accomplish what I'm meant to do today, and to me that's fine, And I know the Lord will just take care of me. Yeah.
I have friends who heard about this, the dual role that I have, and quite a few of them will come and they say, saying, I wish I could do that. So in some sense, I felt I never lost anything. I won't say it's a balance. It's a mixture that I'm at peace with, and I've learned to enjoy it, and I felt fulfilled, and it's something that I can wake up every day. I'm not tired of it. I look forward to a new day. It's something I felt money can't buy.
And even though their journey is at times fraught with challenges and self-doubt, Singing and Kan Yin's resolve and unwavering steadfastness to their cause is like a breath of life in a world often lacking in courage and conviction.